the best, one of the best roast jokes I ever heard was Greg Giraldo saying Flavor Flav looked like a skeleton wrapped in duct tape. That's how you start a podcast.
Who were the best roaster of all? I would put Giraldo up there with DePaulo.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing though, is that like there were people that got credit for being great roasters that I didn't think they did well. Like not to slander, and everyone's gonna hate this. I did not think Patrice did a good job on that Charlie Sheen roast.
When he went last?
Yeah. I mean, it was like...
Well, he broke the mold. He decided not to go with the joke, and he just basically deconstruced what everyone
did.
Yeah.
But when I watched it, it just wasn't like... It wasn't a roast. It was him going, like, I'm uncomfortable with white people talking to you like this, right, Mike, which is a brilliant premise.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't as great as I remember it being. Amy Schumer, like, I did not think... Like, she was the prototype for, like, you do the roast and then you blow up like Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
And I mean, every woman in comedy fought to be on those roasts so they could blow up like Amy. Amy had one joke that wasn't that great. It was, Steve-O, your friend Ryan Dunn died. We wished it had been you. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't that great, but...
Yeah.
And then she got so much shit for it.
Yeah, women on roast especially blow up. Lampanelli, Whitney Cummings got a lot of heat
quit
out
comedy.
Of it. Who?
Lisa Lampanelli quit comedy.
Yeah, she's a motivational speaker now. You spend your whole life building up a giant fucking audience.
To then, like, I'm fucking at a loss of words.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, do you know Lisa Lampanelli?
Yeah.
I knew her when she worked at the Boston Comedy Club when she was wearing the big gold chains and the gold rings. You remember that version of her?
Yeah.
And she was nice back then.
Right.
And then I did Cowhead one time and she was a cunt.
Really?
A cunt.
You were in studio with her?
I was in studio and she was outside and me and Cowhead have been friends for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And so I was in studio. I was just doing third mic. It was back when he didn't have a third mic. Galvin wasn't on the show. And I would come in and I'd just do the whole week of radio with him. I was at the Improv. She was doing a theater, Tampa Theater, one show. Not impressive now that I know careers. I'm like, okay, we get it. I did 3. Anyway, she's in the waiting room and she goes, and they go, bring her in. And they said, she won't go in while this guy is on air.
Oh, no shit.
And I told them, I said, oh, tell her I know her. I worked the door at the Boston Comedy Club. Yeah. And they came in, they're like, she doesn't give a shit. She said to leave. She doesn't do radio with other comics. Here's the kicker, Greg. I had the greatest compliment to pay her. I had the greatest thing to say to her when she got on. I had, for my show Hurt Bert, I had been a male stripper for a night. I'd done been a male stripper at a straight club and then at a gay club. At the gay club, it was a talent show. It wasn't like technically a striptease, but for my talent, I was a stripper. And it went over well. I didn't win. The person who won dressed like Lisa Lampanelli, put their album on the fucking stereo and lip synced it.
Lip synced her comedy routine?
Her comedy routine, and it murdered in the room. It murdered.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there as a guy who knew Lisa and was like, oh my God, if I had her number, I would call her now and tell her, be like, this is a fucking cultural iconic moment that in a all gay club in Vegas.
Yeah.
There's a man dressed like you.
Right.
Lip syncing your comedy album for 10 minutes and it's murdering.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell her that. And she fucking walked out and said, fuck that guy. He's a nobody. I'm out, and walked out. You want to spend your time with a nobody on air? You spend your time with a nobody. I'm a somebody. And she went to fucking Bubba's show.
She actually said all that?
Yeah. And then left. Told that to the assistant. And I was like, what a fucking turn.
That's weird because I've only found her to be incredibly respectful and nice, which is always like the queen of mean. It was like, like Rickles, like the nicest guy off stage. But so that's surprising to me.
How about this in defense of her? she may have said whatever she said, and we just heard it in her character's voice.
Yes.
She may have been like, you know what? I don't like doing radio with other guys. And we heard,
right.
You know what? I don't do radio with fucking zeros.
Right.
Like, so that in her defense, I'm sure that's what happened.
Yeah.
But she's a motivator. That's always weird. Kyle Cease is a motivational speaker.
Is he really?
Do you remember Kyle Cease?
Yeah, of course.
Dude, if Comedy Central was super forward thinking, they would do documentaries on guys like Kyle Cease. That career is fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with the trajectory of his career?
Not that much.
Let me walk you through it. Kyle Cease was by the way, I understand, Kyle, if you're listening to this, you may not take this in a positive light. Okay? I don't mean it negative. I don't mean to shit on you, but you're not in comedy anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You're a motivational speaker. I'm sure you'll see the bright side of this. Kyle Cease was a prodigy. Much like many of the stories you've heard, he was such a wild child in class that the teacher, in order to calm him down, would give him 6 minutes at the end of every day.
Yep.
So everyone's heard that story.
I had that happen to me.
So he started very young, I want to say in Seattle, and was up on stage when he was 15, 13 years old. He was the same path as Chappelle. He gets put in 10 Things I Hate About You as the slow cat clapper. Or maybe it's like Not a Teen Movie. Whatever. That's his, what? He was in both. Wow. You already know way too much about Kyle Cease. Oh, you for real? Yeah. Okay, nice. Moves to LA, starts stand-up, and in the wacky, high-energy Dane vibe, starts booking a lot of colleges, gets a half hour on Comedy Central, and leading up to it, as he's training for it, convinces himself, I wonder if I can make myself pass out, and starts to create an anxiety around performing so that while he's performing, the whole time he's doing his act, his brain's going, we're going to pass out in 3, 2, and he has massive anxiety attacks about this.
Wow.
Then comes out of this, does his special, turns out good. They do the top 10, the number 1 comedian of the year on Comedy Central. Kyle just spams it, votes for himself, tells people I'll send you whatever you want if you vote for me, and gets rated in like 2002, 2004 as the number 1 comic of the year. Beats Jeff Dunham, Dane Cook, Mitch Hedberg, Dave Attell, Richard Lewis, beats everyone. No one's ever heard of the guy, but he's like spams the thing and then decides, I can teach other people how to do this. I can teach them how to get out of their head, do great comedy, and win contests. And he starts Comedy Boot Camp. $10,000, you come out for the weekend, I'll teach you how to do comedy. And it takes off like fucking wildfire.
No shit.
Yeah, because this is the very beginning of Dane Cook changing the industry.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at a guy going, I'll tell you how to get fans, how to blow up your MySpace account, how to write material, how to be high energy. You got to move your fingers a lot. Stanhope reads it and says, I would pay $10,000 if they bring out Kyle Cease and his entire family and assassinate them on stage. If you want to learn anything about comedy, find me at any bar and I'll tell you Kyle Cease is a charlatan, a crook, a fucking horrible human being. Now, here's where it gets really fucking interesting. Kyle reads this in a hotel room in any city, Minnesota. He's on the road, reads this, lays down on his bed and has the most epiphanous moment of his life. He spends 3 days, doesn't move off this bed. These are Kyle's words. Doesn't move off this bed, lays in this bed for 3 fucking days, staring at the ceiling fan, realizing this is the best thing that ever happened to me. The internet is destroying Kyle Cease at the time. 3 days he doesn't move out of this bed. 3 days he doesn't move. Just, okay, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to pivot back. I'm going to turn back. Turns his life around, takes all the stuff he's learned, and now he's a motivational speaker.
Successful?
I think he's actually super successful.
So he goes on tour and speaks.
He goes on tour, he speaks, he holds big forums, but he's...
Dude, that's the racket, because then you sell the books at the lectures.
He's a New York Times bestselling author.
Wow, yeah.
That's
the
not
book that makes the money.
That's real. You can't buy that. That's real.
Wow, and he hasn't done stand-up since.
Hasn't done stand-up since.
Wow.
I mean, hardcore. Like, he would do things... I mean, he's playing huge fucking venues. I mean, this is, what is it? That's fucking 5,000 seats.
Yeah.
5,000 seats. And he's, I mean,
wow.
And his names of his book, I hope I screw this up. He was someone that watched The Secret and bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Like, remember when The Secret was big?
Well, and it's all those books start going back to Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. They all start with that creation myth. There's a moment where they bottom out. They're having anxiety. They have an epiphany. Eckhart Tolle talks about sitting on a park bench for 2 days straight.
Yep. Kyle Cease laid in a bed for 3 days.
Yep. It always starts with that. And it's such crap. And it's a racket I may get into.
Dude, how great would it be to sell 5,000 seats and no, I don't have to be funny.
I don't have to get any laughs.
I just got to tell you what you want to hear.
Yes.
It's going to work out.
Yeah.
You have the power within yourself.
Right. There's a woman who's got a special on Netflix. I forget her last, begins with a B. And it's huge. It's one of the biggest things on Netflix right now. And I watched it, and she is so engaging. She's like a, kind of a slightly overweight Southern woman, middle-aged. And she comes out and she just talks about having gratitudes. There's some basic platitudes about self-help. And she lays it out in a really simple way. And then she sells her fucking books, and she's playing in this giant theater, and she does it's comedy. Yeah. She tells funny stories and anecdotes. She gets laughs, but there are no pressure laughs. If they didn't get the laugh, she would just move on.
Dude, I would.
That's what I want
as a motivational speaker. Like murder.
Right. What would your message be?
Carpe diem.
Yeah.
Carpe diem. Guys, this all can end tomorrow. It's not about the future. It's about the now. And if you live in the now, you'll get what you want out of life. Yeah. Don't work to live to work. I don't even know what that means. But like, dude, I get obsessed with these messages. Like Gary V. You ever listen to Gary V?
Gary Valentine?
No, the worst motivational speaker you could ever get. Gary Valentine, if he was a motivational speaker, here would be his thing. Guys, it's all switching from scotch to wine. That's all we do. Just go down to wine. And then you have a big weekend, go back to scotch, but on the weekdays, we're just doing wine. That's Gary Valentine. By the way, that is legit a Gary Valentine message I got from him. Gary Valentine is someone that I used to get so drunk with. One time I took a shot out of a candle. I thought it was a shot, and I shot the candle and burned my face. I would love to be like just do stuff like everything now on Instagram is about, wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. My message would be the opposite. Sleep in. Don't work out. You're saving yourself from a heart attack.
Yeah.
Slow roll it. You know what? Today, take a Xanax in the morning.
Yeah.
Like it would all be about, like, I think about that sometimes because in a weird way in stand-up, the way it's turned, the way it's kind of pivoted is, and this is bullshit talk, and you know that, but you become a brand ambassador almost. Mm-hmm. Like, who are your fans, and what do they want? What do they want to do out of life, and what do they want out of you? Right? Like you think about Rogan's fans are like, get healthy, explore your conscious,
challenge yourself,
and love comedy, like laugh.
And be a man.
And be a fucking man, right? Be a fucking man. If you look at
But the difference is we're all coming from a place where, and you're a perfect example of this, you fucking live your life and then you put it out there and you attract people that are that brand.
Yeah.
As opposed to Kyle Cease, who says, what's out there? What do they want? I'm going to give it to them.
Is that what he's doing?
And then you're a slave to them. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that about Kyle Cease. I don't know.
No, but motivational speakers.
Motivational speakers and certain very branded comedians, guys that are super branded. You can just see that every joke they have they've got an umbrella, and if that joke doesn't fall under that umbrella, they're not going to do it.
It's no different than comics that do comedy to get pussy.
Yeah.
there are guys I know that have been in the business 25 years and their whole goal was at the end of the night to get pussy.
Yeah.
And if their comedy was outside that umbrella of like safe, fun, that would be fun to take on a date, go to a wedding with. This guy looks like he'd be a blast.
Yeah.
Not too aggressive, not challenging me. If they didn't stay, they never grew as comics. So to grow as a comic, you've got to say the thing
You gotta alienate people.
To alienate people, to figure out how to take that joke and not alienate people.
Yeah. Did you get pussy with stand-up early
Once.
on? Once in your career?
Once in my career.
Jesus.
Yeah, once.
Why? Because then you met Leanne soon after that?
No. My comedy didn't translate to pussy. Like it just was like,
you're a guy comic.
yeah, like it was still to this day. Like you go to one of my shows and it is 1,000 dudes who kind of look like me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of beards, a lot of hats, a lot of fucking guys wearing XLs that should be wearing double XLs.
Uh-huh.
A lot of guys with like chicks a little hotter than them going like, all right, I got this locked down.
Right.
And then obviously you get young kids who are like, oh, the machine, it's like, but yeah, it's a lot of like, I mean, I said I went to like, you look at any of the videos I did from Europe, I swear to God, without an accent, you'd be like, oh, are you in Cleveland?
Yeah.
It's the exact same looking person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the one time I got pussy, I got 2 in one night. And so one girl was a virgin.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I never fucked her.
Yeah.
There were 2 girls. I want to say the one girl's name was Stephanie. I don't remember their names. I wish I did. I got to be honest with you. I kind of still think about this one girl every now and then.
Like spank bait?
No. And I'll tell you why. So like I go home, we all hang out. Everyone separates off and the virgin stays with me. We go back to my house. We hook up, fool around, don't have sex, fool around in my bed. Totally fun. And then she goes back to Chicago. Like she's like, I was just here for the weekend. She goes back to Chicago. The other one was fucking adorable. I mean, dark hair, Italian. I think her name was Stephanie or something. And she was, I mean, adorable. Like my wife, like that kind of look, like really cute face, like just great body, little smaller, little shorter. Here's what was great about her. She was fun as fuck. She always had a smile. Like my wife has that too. Like everything's always like, huh? And then one night we hooked up a bunch. And then one night all her friends came in from Chicago and they were all getting ready at my house to go see the show that night at the Boston Comedy Club.
Yeah.
And we'd all party during the day. And I was like, I'm going to take a nap. And I heard her say to her friends in the living room of my place as they were getting ready, guys, we got to keep it down. He needs to really rest before his performance. So like, let's keep our voices down. They're like, oh, okay. And I went, she's taking care of me. Like I'd never had a girl take care of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
that's an Italian girl for you.
This is a keeper.
Yeah.
And then I got a deal and I moved out to LA. She spent the rest of the summer in New York and we never kept in touch. I don't know her name.
Wow.
I want to see her. I want to run into her at a show. I'm sure she's overweight now. I'm certain of it. But I guarantee you her husband's like just the most taken care of motherfucker.
Jesus. I used to hook up a lot, but I always had girlfriends that I cheated on. And I remember one time I was I was living with a girl in New York and I went up to New Hampshire. I did this gig and and it was like a roadhouse gig. It was like all locals came, the same people came every week.
Yeah.
And those are always the best shows. They fucking laugh their asses off.
Oh,
they
yeah.
heckle, but in a nice way. And you all have a drink afterwards. And it was back when I was still drinking. And so I meet these 2 girls and they are a fucking team. They present together.
Jesus Christ.
And so I talk to them and I flirt with them and, we're holding hands, the 3 of us. I just remember the 3 of us in a circle holding hands. And then they give me their address and they say, why don't you meet us back at our place? They fucking live together.
Oh my God.
And they're like, they were Latino and I can't remember what kind of Latino they were, but they were like, dark skinned and voluptuous and red lipstick.
Ooh, make them Brazilian in my head.
Pumps, Brazilian. And so I get in my car and I was trying, at the time I was like, I can't fucking cheat. I can't cheat. I've been bad.
God.
So I sit in the parking lot for like 20 minutes. debating. I'm looking at the fucking address. And
by the way, I've only done that with a refrigerator.
And I finally just get in the car and I drive from New Hampshire back to New York that night. It took me like fucking 6 hours. And I get back and my girlfriend says, yeah, you got a phone call about 6 hours ago. They looked up my number in New York when it was listed and left me a message saying, if you check your voicemail, we're still waiting. We don't know if you got lost. It's off Route 3, blah, blah, blah.
So you got in trouble.
Waiting.
You got in trouble for the threesome you never had.
Didn't even get the three-way.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
The fucking Latino three-way. We would have been salsa dancing, eating burritos, the whole thing.
2 babies, 1 night.
Yeah.
Can I tell you? Here's the problem. I just in the middle of that I went, oh, here's the problem. If you had gotten in bed with them, right, and you're fooling around, and you guys have sex, and it's great, and you're laying in bed, and one of them says to you, you know what joke I love of yours? And they tell you the joke. You would tell that joke every fucking night,
That's
hoping that a threesome would happen. Because Dave Attell told me one joke he liked. It wasn't even a great joke, and I told it every fucking night.
Yeah.
Because my goal was to get guys like Dave Attell to like me.
Right.
But one time, if they had been like, oh, I love that you danced to that Aaliyah song, he would have been like, every night, baby girl,
Hey.
been a man from the big PA. One time I fucking got pussy. Oh, and I fucked a girl from the Boston Comedy Club one time.
Okay.
A couple times I fucked her.
No, I put up some numbers early on. I was still in college when I started. And back then it was like, everybody was like, don't sleep with waitresses. I was like, why wouldn't you? Are you kidding me?
Who the fuck are you supposed to sleep with?
They're there. They're watching you. You're making them laugh. You're drinking afterwards.
Geraldo's like, don't sleep with them. I married him.
Oh, that's right. And then one of them said, this was a Catch a Rising Star in Princeton, New Jersey, where the club was in the hotel. It was at the Hyatt. And then you stayed upstairs. And this waitress fucking, I can just remember like, she went upstairs and I was like, oh, I'm in 342. I'm not sure which way. She's like, it's this way. And we went back and she was super hot. She was a personal trainer and she worked out a lot. And she gave me a blowjob. And then like within 10 minutes wanted to have sex with me. And here's the thing you got to know about Greg Fitzsimmons. There's a 24-hour clock on the nut. You got to reset it. And so she is doing everything she can. I'm doing everything I can. And this girl is used to, I find out later when I run into like 3 other comics that are like, oh, you did Catch a Rising Star in Prison? Did you hang out with Kristen? I was like, yeah, she's not talking well of it. Like I heard from other guys that she said I couldn't get it up. And it's like, of course I couldn't get it up. You blew me first.
Dude, yeah. If you, yeah.
That's like, what do you call it when you eat 2 dinners in one night? Double banger? Or
I don't know. I call it dinner. I do dinners all the time. That's so funny. That is, if in my head, I was like, if you're going to blow me, then that's what you're going to do.
That's it.
Yeah. That's
a selfless act.
That's what we signed up for. I'm not going to,
yeah.
We can't double dip this.
No.
Like,
are you the same way?
Oh, yeah. And if you blow me a little bit, just so you know, when we have sex, it's going to be over immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't, I'm not that like, that's why I want to try Viagra, but I have high blood pressure, so I probably won't try it.
No, don't. That's what happened to me. I took it and I got real dizzy.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I got dizzy. I almost passed out and it lasted forever. I mean, the erection was good. We talked about this on my podcast a little bit, but I do an ad for an erection pill and I like it. It did its job, but I got dizzy.
Dude, I got a new sponsor. Like I'm not going to do a mid-roll right now, but I will tell you the name of the sponsor. I just greenlit it, and I'm super fucking excited. No, I'm sorry. It's not what it was. It's for Something's Burning. It's a sponsor. It's a wipe where you wipe your dick, and it numbs it.
No.
Dude, have you ever had the numb dick? They used to make condoms like that, where the inside was with a lidocaine. So you were just fucking with like like you couldn't feel anything, so you couldn't come.
Yeah, but isn't that defeating the whole purpose of
not if
sex?
You're single? Like if you're single and you meet a girl and you want to perform well, because you want her to like you, bro, you numb it up,
right?
Put a condom on,
and
you can fuck all night, and not worry about not blowing a load.
Yeah. No, that was the thing in college. I lived in a freshman dorm and I slept with almost every single girl on my floor. It became like a mission for me. And the key was you got to find the alpha female and have sex with her, but do a extraordinary job. You go down on that muffin and you stay down on it for 20 to 25 minutes. You massage every part of her while you make love. Eye contact, intertwine your fingers in a handhold while she's coming, cuddle afterwards. And then she talks about you.
Well, it's like
you get a buzz.
It's like getting the Elderman in Chicago on your side before you go and open a restaurant.
That's right.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Dude, my freshman year of college, my first week, me and Jeff Hartley decided we were going to go from floor to floor to floor, meeting all the hottest women on each floor and trying to hook up. So the very first night, we went to floor 1. We knocked on every door. And then when they'd open, we'd say, yeah. And by the way, I'm sure this is a microaggression, Me Too, something that you can't lie or whatever. I get it. It was a different time. We'd knock on the door. They'd answer the door and we go, yeah, we're from FSU's mattress police. We need to make sure the tags are still on your mattresses.
I love it.
And they'd be like, oh, okay. And they'd let us in. We'd check their mattresses. And if they were hot, we'd stick around and flirt. And if they weren't, we'd check the mattresses and just go to the next room. First night, I hooked up with one of the most beautiful to date, meaning like up to that time, one of the hottest chicks I had ever hooked up with. So fucking hot, from Orlando. Perfect. Fucking perfect. I would have dated this girl, but there were fucking 4 more floors for us to hit. So we hook up that first night. I go to the next floor the next night. Me and Jeff find 2 other girls. We hook up with them. And during this week in the elevator, the reason it started all this, I had seen a girl in the elevator that was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Fucking stunning. And our goal was technically to find out where she was. No joke. I'm not punching this up for comedic effect or for story effect. I swear to you, we saw her in the closet with her mom or dad, whoever took her to school. She was the most beautiful girl. And we said, what we'll do is we'll just keep scoping floor to floor to floor until we find this girl. And this is Florida State, there was a black floor. Like they had one for the black chicks. Oh yeah.
They weren't allowed to live anywhere else?
They had a black floor. No, they weren't allowed on the white floors. There was a black floor of black chicks and a black floor of black dudes. I think it was floor 2 and 4, right?
In a freshman dorm?
In a freshman dorm.
So in other words, the black kids would come to school and say, I want to live on the black floor?
Nope. Black kids on this floor, black kids on this floor, white kids on all the other floors.
Segregation.
100%. And my buddy Miles Mosley, they thought he was black because of his name, and they put him on the black floor. We were just separating based on your fucking name.
What?
Dude, it was all, but just to be fair, not to make this story go too out of control, it was also those black guys on the black floor were all the football players.
Okay.
So it was all football players on that floor.
Right.
So then, by the way, the night we go to the black floor of black girls, we meet some of the football players. Me and a football player end up in this one black girl, Vanilla was her name. We end up in her room. Jeff goes off to the white floors. I stay on the black floor with the black girls floor with this football player. And they start checking. It's now curfew. They start checking the floors. And me and this guy end up in this girl, Vanilla's room. I'm under the bed. He's behind the door. The RA opens the room, shuts the door, doesn't see us, right? We come out of the room and we are caught on the elevator by the RA. And the head person there, like the police are there or whatever, campus security is there. And the RA says, I saw him, and points to the black, I saw him in one of the rooms. I'd been in the room with him and I know he didn't see him. I saw him in one of the rooms. He's been on the girls' floor. And the black guy looks at me, he goes, I've been with him all night. And I go, I have been with him all night. And then this fucking idiot goes, and you didn't see me because I saw you in the mirror. I was behind the door. And I went, oh, you fucking idiot. And he was like, we were both in that room. And I was like, fuckface. We were just out of this.
Yeah.
And we got in trouble. So we go all the floors. I hook up with a new girl every night, not on the black floor. I didn't hook up with a black chick, but like every floor. I swear to you, I will call my buddy Jeff Hartley right now. On the 9th floor of Smith Hall or whatever, Davini Hall, we get to the very last door and I literally say, I can't believe we didn't find this chick. Right by the stairwell, knock on the door, and it's that fucking girl. Ended up dating her for 5 years.
No shit.
I ended up dating her for 5 years.
Wow.
And just to be fair, my buddy Jeff fucked her too. So
in between?
no, towards the end, that's why we broke up. But
whoa.
Yeah. But
Did you stay friends with Jeff?
yeah, I'm still friends with Jeff. It's pussy. What are you gonna do? And so, but she was the last fucking room.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had sex with, I swear to you, it became a fucking mission for me. And there was this one girl, I would do booty calls. I'd come home at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I would knock on doors of girls I thought that there was a little connection with. And there was this one girl who I was friends with. We used to drink a lot together. And she was funny as hell. And she had a beard. And so I knock on her door, 3 a.m, and she answers. And like doesn't say a word, just walk in, fucking strip down. And she had hair all over her back and on her breasts. And I made love to her like she was a fucking monkey. And it was the best sex I'd had on that entire floor. I finished, I put my clothes on, I walked out, and we never spoke of it again. Started drinking again together. Hanging out.
Oh, can I tell you, that's what I miss in women? Like my wife misses a first kiss. It's the one thing she says. I'm bummed out I'll never get another first kiss. Can I tell you what I miss? Is a summer fling with a girl that smokes pot and likes old comedies. And she's not beautiful, but you guys start hooking up over summer school. And then you and her just smoke bowls and, hey, you want to come over tonight? Get a pizza, watch Eddie Murphy Raw? And you're like, fuck yeah. You go over to her house, you get high. And like, she just, like her, I always talk about like, but her thumbs are just like raw from packing bowls are always like sooted.
She's got that brown on her front 2 teeth.
Yeah.
Taking bong hits.
But she just has a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And you guys do like fun shit and you're not in love and you know it's going to end when summer ends.
Yeah.
But you're just like those summer flings were so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
In summer school. I went to summer school every single year in college.
You did?
7 summer schools.
Because you kept failing?
No, I never would leave. I went my very first freshman year. When I went home, after I did summer school freshman year, and then I was like, I'm gonna go home and work. And I went home and I bought a dog, and the dog was tearing up my dad's house. And my dad went to the cardiologist, and my dad's cardiologist said, your son needs to go back to school. I think he's driving you crazy. He was like, I think you're having a heart attack because of your son. So I went back and I moved in with Judd and this guy, Judd and Cuz. This is like I look back, it sounds so silly, but I get so romantic for this. Cuz worked for Nabisco. And so if he had to go into every store, and if there was broken products, he just took them home and threw them out. I was supposed to throw them out.
Yeah.
So we got all the broken products from Nabisco's. Nutter Butters were my favorite. We had so many Nutter Butters, we'd lay them out until they got stale on the counter, and then you'd just be eating Nutter Butters. I found Sonic the Hedgehog, Widespread Panic, and marijuana that summer. Got an iguana. It was like the greatest summer of my fucking life.
Yeah.
Dude, it was like I had a Jetta. I had a Grateful Dead sticker on the back. Oh, it was like the ultimate fucking summer. And I barely knew these guys. They were my fraternity, but I ended up living with them. And then I was like, I'm doing this every fucking summer.
Yeah.
I could go through summer by summer and just like, I remember one summer, this bar burnt down, like in, Irish, what's it called? Jewish Lightning?
When they burn it down for the insurance?
Yeah. And we went in and we, burns down. 2 days later, still smoldering, we go in and we pull out all the booze.
Nice.
We steal all the booze and put it in trunks.
Wow.
All the covers are burnt. We don't know what we're drinking. And
that's great.
And then one night we got a trunk full of booze in the back of my Jetta. And we get this hair up our ass. We're like, let's do like a fear and loathing trip and just get in the car and start driving. And dude, we ended up in West Virginia. Drink, like one person would drive, we'd all drink, and then we'd pass out, and then we'd switch. Someone else would drive, we'd all drink. It was like the craziest. I remember calling my mom on a payphone and being like, just so you know, I'm going on a road trip. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss those summers.
And you didn't have any money, but you fucking found a way. You did it all on nothing. I lived in the Hamptons one summer with my brother and this kid, Sean Burgoyne.
You don't ever get to do that again.
I know.
Doesn't that suck?
Yep. And, and literally the gratification of working hand to mouth. Like I worked in this bar. We lived in a shithole. It was a flea infested one bedroom.
Hold on. You guys fucked those older girls.
Did I tell you this
Dude,
story?
this is one of my favorite stories ever.
Yeah.
This is one of my, dude, this is the thing that I live for in life, is these moments where you'll never get them again. Keep going.
So we're staying in this one bedroom, and it was literally like whoever got home first went into the bedroom and locked the door so we'd have a fucking bed. The other two guys slept on a fold out. Our legs and arms we looked like we had measles from all the flea bites.
Dude, I'm literally singing this song along in my head.
Shag carpet, but it was a condo complex with a pool. And next door was these two sisters, the Palumbo sisters, and they were from Queens. And they had a 2-bedroom tripped out with a fucking full bar, beautiful kitchen. Everything was nice. And they came out on the weekends. And they'd come out, and I fooled around with the older one, who I was 19 that year, and she turned 40. We celebrated her 40th birthday. And that was we had this relationship, and I didn't love her, but I really liked her. And we loved the same books, and she was very deep, very smart. She was an attorney. She worked for Lee Iacocca at the time. She was like one of his lead attorneys. And then her younger sister would come out. She was a hairdresser, and my brother was having an affair with her. And they would come out, and they would cook all weekend. Real Italians make fucking ziti and chicken parmesan, and we'd eat it. And then at the end of the weekend, they would put it all into Tupperware and give us all the leftovers. And that would last us till maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. And then they'd come back out on Friday. And we did this all summer. And I was getting up. I worked at a place called Summers on Dune Road in Hampton Bay. And I'd go out there. I'd ride my bike 7 miles, and I'd get there, and I'd have to be there at like 9:00 in the morning. And they had these giant fucking speakers that were the size of cars. There was like 6 of them, and they faced the beach because it was a beach bar. Yeah. And all these drunks were laying out on the sand from the night before, passed out. And I would crank 2001 Space Odyssey, dun, 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 dun. Yeah. And you just see all these drunks like holding their ears and getting up, and they would leave, and we'd clear the beach. And then we'd start bringing up racks of liquor. There were 12 bartenders all pouring at the same time at outdoor bars, giant oval bars with like 7 bartenders at each one. And I would just wear a bathing suit and a tank top and carry it all day. Buckets of ice, fucking cases of beer, drinking Miller Lights all day, diving in the ocean every couple hours. And at the end of the day, they'd close up at 6:00. I'd be drunk. I'd get on my bike 7 miles back home again, fucking hang out with the Palumbo sisters all summer.
So wait, what's our version of that now? Like if you're listening to this and you're like there's so many things advice-wise that I give to like a 20-year-old kid, a 21-year-old kid. Like, I'll tell you things I regret. I never worked a summer in Greece.
Yeah.
I wish I had backpacked and then shut it down and said, you know what, I'm going to work at the Pink Palace for the summer.
Right.
I never did that. I never I always wish I had worked for I really wish after college that I had taken like a year off and worked in Aspen. With all the people that are of the same age doing the same thing, those little communities, working at like a beach bar in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
What is our version of that now in life? Say you're like 35, you're like us, and you're like, yeah, I got kids, I'm locked into this. Like, when do we can we have any of those? Like, you don't ever get that again.
At this age, can we do that?
I know.
Well, I mean, with the internet, you kind of can. Like, stand-up is huge in Europe and Australia. You could go and say, I'm going to do a year in Australia and get into that scene, build up a little following, still do your podcast, and it would be Bertcast down under. You call it for a year. You call it a project.
That's not bad.
And you immerse yourself.
Idea.
You Airbnb your house for
I bet your podcast
profit.
Numbers would fucking skyrocket.
Huge. And you would become so fucking big in Australia. You could go back there for 2 weeks you're doing Australia, aren't you?
Doing Australia in a couple of weeks.
And I noticed your shows are almost all sold out.
Yeah. Auckland. We have tickets left in Auckland. We added a second show in Sydney and a second show in Perth. Thanks, Craig. Yeah.
Of course. But the one thing I regret is when I was graduate high school. I didn't want to go to college.
Yeah.
So I went to work. I wanted to go to Europe. And so I worked 2 jobs. I was a cook at TGI Fridays at night. And then I was a caddy at a golf course. So for the whole summer, I worked fucking nonstop while drinking all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it. I saved $4,000. I got a backpack and I went to Europe by myself for 6 months. And I just traveled around. My first stop was Ireland. And I had like a friend of a friend was meeting me in Cork City, which is the most fun city in Ireland.
Really?
Meet up with this guy. His name was Tio. And we just fucking clicked. Soulmates immediately. And the first night he had me out till 4 a.m. at all the pubs. And so I ended up staying there in that town for the first month of my trip.
Holy shit.
And I just got into like the whole world of Cork. And then I want to see the rest of Ireland. So he left with me. And we traveled every fucking town on the west coast of Ireland, all the way up into Northern Ireland. And we realized that we were living the life that every backpacker really wanted to live. What are the right bars? Where's the cheapest place to get a falafel?
Yeah.
Where do you find girls? What's the cheapest way to hitchhike? Where do you stand to hitchhike? And we realized this is a travel book we should be writing. We should travel Europe for a year, take copious notes, and just party. And instead of Let's Go Europe, which was like the Bible back then, it was like every kid had it, but it was all museums and fucking, cheap hotels as opposed to like hostels. We would have the hostels, and I didn't. That's one of my biggest regrets in life is that because he wanted to do it, and I bailed.
Dude, that would be an amazing podcast.
Yeah.
Like if you're please do it so that I know what to do. But like, say you're like 22 years old, you're out of college. You're like, what do I do? You get you and your best friend, and you take like advice from the internet. You find out what they do, and you go explore Europe for a year and just do a podcast, just literally detailing your trip through Europe and where you went and where it was popular. I would love to. It's so hard when you go to a new city. Like we're going to Bali in a week, and you go, where do we stay?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Same thing with Costa Rica. Where do I stay? Like, I don't know where, when I see the pictures online, where are they staying? That's what I do on Instagram is I find pictures of Bali, and then I just follow that hashtag Bali. And then anytime I see a cool place, I send it to my daughters and I go, yo, put this down. And then, so now we've got a bunch of pictures of places we liked the picture.
Yeah.
So we're going to just go to all the pictures that we saw.
Yeah. Dude, I went to Bali. I'll tell you where to go.
Oh, for real? You went to Bali?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, first you start out, go to Jimbaran Bay, which is like all the high-end resorts.
Is that near the airport down south?
Yes.
Yep. We're going.
Tip.
We're going there the first 2 nights.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's expensive because it's all internationally owned hotels.
Yeah.
And then you grab a driver, and the driver's there. Everybody's named John.
Yeah.
Because that's like the name in Bali.
Okay.
And everyone's John. And you get John in his van, and he'll drive you for $10 a day. We'll drive you wherever the fuck you want to go.
All right.
And they'll take you to the right places to eat. They've got a cousin who's got a good restaurant in this town. So you go to Abood.
We're going to Abood.
Yeah, Abood.
For 3 days in Abood.
And that's all. That's the art center. And they have all these. And it's like, that's like.
Bro, you're naming our trip right now, which makes me feel so fucking good.
Yeah. And then you go up there, and that's where all the artists are. Yeah. And our whole house is Balinese art. It's fucking beautiful.
Really?
And it's like the government subsidizes the artists. And so there's a whole city of artists, and you go around, and they're living in huts, and they're fucking sitting around smoking. And when they feel like doing art, they do art, but there's no pressure. And it's all, and they've got these Balinese calendars. You want to get one of those?
Yeah.
And you frame that, all kinds of handicraft. You can also buy beautiful outdoor furniture that they make out of teak.
Will they ship it back for you?
They ship that shit right over for you.
Motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
I wish my wife was here right now. This is what my wife and I have been talking about, like what to do. We're going to take a private boat out to Nusa Penida.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to take a private and go snorkeling.
Yep.
Every tour we're doing, I told my wife, I go, if it's a little extra, just get the private one.
Yeah.
Because I don't like being like, it's gotten like a little annoying where you sit down and it's other Americans who are like, oh, yeah, hey man, I saw your Netflix special, and you're like,
yeah,
cool. And then my wife has noticed that I turn into a different person. Then I like turn it on for the day.
Right.
Who wants to do a shot? Huh? Shirts off, right?
Yeah.
So.
And then you go to Kuta. Just go there for a couple days.
Is that up north?
That's the Northwest tip.
Yeah.
That's where the surfing is. That's where
really?
literally world class. You know that movie? What's the movie where they surf all the way for a
Endless
year?
Summer?
Yeah, Endless Summer is it's there, and you can get a board there for a few bucks, and you'll get a coach or a teacher, and they'll go out in the water with you.
I'm looking at this,
and just do it. It sounds crazy that you'll surf. They got these boards that are fucking 14 feet long. You can't lose. They push you into the wave. And but that's super touristy. You don't want to stay there that long.
Kuta.
Yeah.
I'm putting that on my thing. Yeah, I can I tell you a business idea I had?
Yeah.
I'll bounce it off you. You tell me if it's any good. Kuta Beach.
Yeah.
It's about 8,000 miles away. All right, I got it. I wanted to open when I worked at Travel Channel. I'd have to work at Travel Channel again to really sell this. I wanted to, maybe I'll sell it as a TV show to Travel Channel. Do you know how what I found was if you got a show on Food Network, all you then had to do was open up a chain, open up a restaurant, and you'd make killing.
Yeah.
What if you had a show on Travel Channel and you were opening up Airbnbs?
Okay.
And you were going into a place. The pitch is I'm Bert Kreischer and I have a hedge fund with $100,000 in it. And I'm going around this world every episode and picking a city and ground up building myself an Airbnb. That's the episode.
Not buying an existing apartment.
I find a place, I tear it down, I build it up.
Okay.
Right? Not just going in and find a place. So I go in and find the best locations. I find the best restaurants. I find the best place. And then I do a build, like a DIY build. Where we're like one episode of DIY where they're like, all right, you wanted it, you had this, we opened this whole door up and this is the bar. So I'm making an Airbnb that people then can then
you
watch.
Figure $100,000, you can open them all around the world?
Yeah, $100,000.
They're going to have paper thin walls, fucking linoleum floors.
I meant $100 million. I got $100,000. The first one's a hut in Bali. Fuck. This is why I need someone like you in my life.
Got a grass roof.
Oh, fuck. Dude, yeah. But you go around, you open Airbnbs up, and it's like a DIY show, like beach living or all those. But you go in, you find the place, and then while they're doing the build, which you come back to, you're exploring the city, you're doing the events.
That's great.
I'm telling you, man. I wish Travel Channel wasn't entirely fucking paranormal right now.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
By the way, hold up the shirt for the fans. I got a new t-shirt.
This is
Wait,
good.
Don't show. Yeah, I'll tell the story first.
Okay.
So I was working in Boston years ago when I was first starting out. And a overweight black woman called the club. We're assuming she's an overweight black woman for the sake of the story. And she calls up and she goes, who on the show tonight? She was from the 19th century. And they said, well, it's Jackie Flynn, Anthony Clark, and Greg Fitzsimmons. And she goes, is Grapefruit Simmons the headliner? And to this day, everybody in Boston calls me Grapefruit Simmons. So one of my fans heard that story. They made a shirt. Here it is. Hey now. Available at fitzdog.com.
Grapefruit Simmons. Is grapefruit. That happened to my sister, Cotty. We walked in. But it wasn't a black woman. It was like a disconnected, affected, either Persian or Mexican kid behind at the Denny's when you turn off La Tijera to go to the airport.
Right.
And we went in, we dropped off my parents and we were coming back. We're going to have breakfast. Me and my sister's name's Cotty. And we go in, she goes, how long for a wait? And he goes, it'll be like 10 minutes. She goes, okay. He goes, what's the name? And she goes, Cotty. And he goes, Crotchy? She goes, no, Cotty. And he goes, Cunty? And she looks at him and she goes, yeah,
yes,
that's it.
Of course she
and
did.
then sits down and stares at him and he looks, he goes, your table's ready. And she goes, what's the name? And made him say it out loud. Cunty? She goes, table for Cunty. God damn it.
My daughter and all of her friends have Starbucks names. That's a big thing with teenagers.
Oh, that's
they go with
brilliant.
Starbucks names. Hers is McLeod for some reason. But
oh my God.
wait, how old are your daughters? I think we have a daughter
12 and 14.
Yeah, mine's 15.
Mine's turning 15 next week. My fucking 12-year-old who is across the board thinks differently than any human being I've ever met.
Yeah.
Right. we got Starbucks at Target the other day, the Target over in the Valley. And I said, I told her what I wanted. I'm trying to force her to be independent. I said, go up and, order them. So she orders and they go, name. She goes, Illa. And I said, Isla, that's not your fucking name. She goes, Dad, trust me. They're going to say it wrong. It's Illa. So they write it out, right? And the fucking girl takes the order, looks at it, and goes, Isla? And said it perfectly. I went, oh my God. I guess if you have that name, you learn that if you say Isla, they're going to spell it wrong. And so like a week later, we're at our Starbucks. So we're getting Starbucks and I say, Isla. And I swear to God, the woman grabs it, goes, Lily, Cece, Illa? And I go, it's Isla. And Isla goes, should have just told her Illa.
Yeah.
It was a fucking amazing.
That's her life hack. She figured it out.
It's like you figure it out quickly and you're like.
Right.
I always get Bert, Brett. No one ever says Bert.
Black people always say Simmons. I think it's a very common African-American name. So when I check into a hotel and I say Greg Fitzsimmons, 90% of the time, if it's African-American, they say Simmons.
That's interesting. Black women always say my name like it bothered them. Like when I always go Bert and they go, Bert? Like, how the fuck did you get named that? Bert? Yeah, Bert. I ain't never met a Bert before. And I would say they don't make them in black.
That's hilarious. Yeah, there's no black Berts.
There's a big deal about like for me at least, coming from Florida, I didn't know very many black people at all. I didn't know any Asians. I didn't know one Indian. I didn't know anyone in Florida. Wow. It was very segregated.
Yeah.
And moving to New York and working with black audiences and mostly at the Boston Comedy Club, Puerto Rican and black, it was like a huge discovery period of my life.
Yeah.
Like I would say things that I don't even know if they're racist, but I would discover them. Like I remember there was a guy in the front row who had dreadlocks and he was balding. And I said, sir, does just one dreadlock fall out altogether? And he was like, huh? And I said, like, when I lose my hair, it just starts thinning. And then I go, oh, that whole area is gone. Do you ever just wake up and there's a dreadlock in bed with you like a snake? And everyone's like, what the fuck are you saying to this guy? But I was like, I don't know. I'm asking. Yeah. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, that's hilarious. No, that's the great thing about stand-up comedy is it is one of the true melting pots. It is not, stand-up's a meritocracy. And if you're a black comic and you're funny, you're going to work. If you're a female comic and you're funny, you're going to work. And that group of people ends up at the club. Now, granted, there are black clubs and there are clubs that I think err on being too white. But for the most part, when you're in the comedy community, especially in New York, you are around your peers and they are all races and everybody gets treated the same.
Did you see what was going on with Legion of Skanks and Milo Yiannopoulos?
No.
That was fucking insane. That was insane. And I don't know where to stand on this because I don't technically agree with Milo Yiannopoulos and I probably would not have him on my podcast.
What is he, Greek?
No. He's like, by the way, I am broad stroking everything. So I'm using the word allegedly and like, I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about. He was an alt-right. He's the guy that infamously, I think, attacked Leslie Jones.
Okay.
Like he was the guy that spearheaded that allegedly. I don't remember. I don't know enough about him.
Spearhead.
He was the guy who was in charge of that.
Okay.
He's like a gay alt-right and they call him a Nazi, but I don't think he's a Nazi, but I don't know. Like I won't have any of those guys on my podcast. Not because I don't want to talk to them. I would love to talk to him, Alex Jones, all those guys. I would love to. The problem is I am such a non-confrontational person that I would be agreeing with stuff I don't know what they're saying. And people will be like, Bert, do you even know what you fucking said? Yeah. You said that all Jews should be. I'm like, I was just nodding. But Legion's Skanks had him on. I think they made a couple mistakes. I think they promoted it, which they were going to do at the Creek in the Cave, and they promoted it. And then once that happened, the liberal comedians in Brooklyn, all the like, I think mostly open micers, but like, I don't really know, but I don't know any of their name. I don't know them personally. I know one or two of them, but they like lost their shit and they started sending out like directions to find a McDonald's because people throw milkshakes at them at Milo Yiannopoulos. They throw milkshakes at them, and they were like, "Milkshake these motherfuckers!" Like this, we should boycott the Creek in the Cave. And it was such. And then Louis J. Gomez, who, like, I was blown away that Eric Heidecker even knows who Louis J. Gomez is. Like the fact that Louis J. Gomez and Eric Heidecker know each other at all is
Eric is from Tim and Eric.
Yeah, Tim and Eric.
Yeah,
he's the smaller one.
Yeah,
he was he like lit them up, and then everyone like it was like a huge alt comedy versus bro comedy moment, which was, and it was all based on free speech.
Yeah,
and I was like,
was it good?
Dude, I followed it. Ari was there. Ari was on it. Ari said it was great. I haven't heard the podcast. It comes out Friday. I'm going to listen to the podcast. I don't agree with what Milo ever says. I don't, by the way, I also don't care. Like, there's a lot of shit I don't care about. Like where I just go, oh, I'm blown away that people care about Milo. Just don't listen to him.
Yeah.
But it was really crazy. And it was really like what you were saying a little bit. It was this real division of like white comedy clubs, like these woke alt comedy clubs versus comedy clubs. Where like, you know, like the Cellar.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about these like UCB and all those places. They're so fucking white. It's all trust fund kids that are in their 20s and somehow can afford apartments in LA and to be at comedy shows every night. And they're usually like just out of college. Their parents paid for college.
Yeah.
And then you go to a real comedy club and the audience is Black, Latino, Jewish, old, whatever. And you get a real cross section. And so it reflects in the comics that are performing there also.
Oh, 100%. What was crazy is at one point, there were two liberal alt comics arguing racism to Louis, who's Puerto Rican. They were calling him white. They were arguing racism with a Puerto Rican, which was so... Like if you're talking about mansplaining or checking your privilege, to talk to a guy who watched his father get stabbed in the streets in the fucking Bronx, like to then go, this is what racism is, to a guy who's experienced it his whole fucking life.
Yeah,
I just was like, what the fuck is our world coming to?
Yeah,
but I think you're right. I think it's kids who never really experienced regular life, like do a club with Black comics.
Yeah,
have to follow a Black comic.
Who was your first Black friend then when you moved to New York? This is where you find out Bert.
Tony Woods.
Never made one.
Tony Woods.
Tony Woods.
Tony Woods was the first. I'm like, I was friends with Godfrey, Donnell. I party with Mike Epps a lot. But like friend, meaning like someone I would like
call and
talk to was Tony Woods. Still is Tony Woods. Tony Woods was really instrumental to a lot of how I was doing stand up and what I was doing wrong.
Great fucking comic.
Dude, he's just, I mean.
There's a guy I always wondered why he didn't make it big. Good looking, smooth, smart.
I have no fucking idea. I saw him do Last Comic Standing auditions and he just really didn't give a fuck. Almost to the point where it was detrimental. I was like, I wanted to go, Tony, can I tell you what jokes to tell? Because I know they'll murder and no one can follow them. Like just tell those. He is so talented. You know what we did one time? This is probably one of the greatest moments I've had on stage in my career. I'm at the DC Improv. He shows up, and in the back, I hear, "Hey man, why don't you tell your Tracy Morgan story?" Because Tony was there the night that Tracy Morgan story happened. So he witnessed the entire story with me. He was there. The entire story was me and him. So I go, "Is that Tony Woods?" My wife's in the audience. My camera is in the fucking green room. I go, "Is that Tony?" And Tony goes, "Yeah, shorty. I want to hear your story." I said, "Why don't you come on stage and we'll tell the story together?" So we told dueling Tracy Morgan stories of that one night where I'd start telling and he'd stop me and correct me. And then he'd start telling and I'd stop him. It was fucking genius.
You're like the Sklar brothers, the interracial Sklar brothers.
It was so funny. And we ended it together. I said, and at the very end of the night, then Tony goes, Tracy Morgan takes his shirt, snaps it, looks at Bert and says, and at the same time we said the same thing. And the fucking place erupts. Standing ovation. That's our show. Come see Tony next time he's here. I get off. My wife's like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen ever. I go, did you videotape it? She goes, I should have, shouldn't I? Oh, I was like, that would have changed my career.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Tony was the first, like, I remember us getting in conversation. I remember one night he said to me, he goes, have you ever said the N-word? I was like, yeah, of course. And he was so shocked. He was like, you? I was like, in my head, I was like, what did I? Yeah, of course. They're like, wait. In my head, I'm like, I've sung it a million times.
Sung it?
Like I grew up
from rap
yeah.
songs,
I don't just sing it when I'm doing yard work,
Yeah.
but like, but I go, I'm not like, I'm like, I grew up in the South. Of course, I mean, like, he was like, I remember him just being like, really? Wait, who was your first black friend?
Jimmy Ridenauer, who was a kid who we were good friends, and we had a running bit. When I was in, like, fourth grade, I was already doing comedy routines.
Really?
I had bits. This kid, John Yurzak, and me, at lunchtime, we used to stand on the steps, and this fucking gaggle of young girls would stand there like an audience, and we would do bits. And I mean, like, theme song from the Muppet Show, like childish shit.
Wow.
And so I had a bit with this guy, Jimmy Ridenauer, and I would pretend he was a big kid, and I would pretend that I was threatening him, and he would like kowtow, and it was just funny. And we did it for fucking 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then when we got to a certain age, we moved up to the middle school, and all of a sudden there was like older black kids. And where I grew up in Tarrytown, there was a lot of black kids, and a lot of them were related. There was a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
And so he was with some of his older cousins one day, and I came up and I started doing the bit. And he walked over and he picked me up and he fucking dropped me on the ground. And then he just turned around and walked away with the other guys, and I was laying there like out of breath. I just remember looking up, and he just kind of like looked back at me like,
you can't do that to me in front of them.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And that guy later on was living in, I want to say Arkansas. And he joined the army, and he was living in Arkansas. He had a white wife, and he was selling a used car. So these two rednecks show up to his house to see the car. They see his white wife, and they fucking took him for a ride, and they killed him.
Is that real?
That's real.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I am so shocked. And I know this is an asinine thing to say. I'm so shocked that exists.
Mm-hmm.
That like when you hear the story about not Larry Bird, James Bird getting dragged behind a truck, that there's people that believe that way.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking blown away.
Yeah.
That there are people that would act on those thoughts. Like when they say there's racism in this country, I go, oh yeah, 100%. I totally agree. But when they say there's Nazis or neo-Nazis in this country, and that the majority of these, I go, well, that's a very small minority. But the fact that there even exists at all, I'm like, who the fuck can live their life like that? Like, it's got to be.
Well, and also that there's shades of it. I mean, there's examples like that, which obviously make you nauseous and angry. But then within that, there is, you talk to audiences after shows sometimes. Yeah. You're in some backward states, and they will say the N-word, and they will say things, and you realize like it's insidious. And when you talk about a black person going to rent an apartment and the realtor being like one of those people, you're not getting that apartment.
No.
You're not getting that job. And people want to talk about that, well, they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps or whatever the fucking racist ideology is behind why black people are making less on the dollar than white people are and whatever. It's like, there is a, systematic cultural racism that we don't want to acknowledge.
It's just mind blowing to me. You know what I heard the other day is they were telling me, and by the way, hardcore allegedly, I don't know what this is. They were saying that the Matthew Shepard hate crime was not in fact a hate crime.
Which was the Matthew Shepard one?
Idaho, the gay guy.
Oh, right.
2 guys took him out to the woods and killed him and left him for dead, beat him up, left him for dead. I don't, by the way, this is such hardcore hearsay. Someone said, oh yeah, you didn't hear that was just, that was a topic that the LGBTQ community put as an agenda but he was actually killed for drugs. It had nothing to do with his sexuality. But they thought it would make great news to be like a big poster head, which is interesting because, you know, I found this out. I was obsessed with Rosa Parks for a period, like obsessed with her. Like the idea that she did that blew me away. Is that like, I have such an issue with confrontation. The fact that she could do that in that day and age, I was just obsessed with that kind of personality, right? Mm-hmm. Then I found out there were 4 chicks before Rosa Parks.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, and she wasn't the first.
And what they were like, and this is the thing that I go, where I see that Matthew Shepard thing and I go, oh, I do see that as a possibility where a gay kid gets beat to death and they look at it and they go, fuck it, pivot it, sell it this way. We need a poster boy. Only reason I say that is like the 4 chicks behind them, they were trying to get behind each of them and each of them had a flaw. And Rosa Parks wasn't she was just some chick that was like, fuck that, I'm not moving. And she had no like chinks in her armor. They couldn't fuck with her at all. The other chick, one of them ended up.
By the way, it's Chinese
in their armor.
Right.
She didn't have any Chinese in her armor. She that's a good joke. She didn't have any Chinese in her armor. The one chick was pregnant, was 13 and pregnant.
Yeah.
One chick beat up the 2 cops in Baltimore. Like everyone they couldn't use them, but but that movement was looking for a poster child.
Martin Luther King was, there was Malcolm X, who was around before Martin Luther King, and he was calling for insurrection.
Yeah.
He was calling for an overthrow. He wanted to, smash the system. And Martin Luther King came along and he was, Gandhi, passive resistance. He was nonviolent.
He was Jon Snow.
And the government said, this is the guy that we're going to, make deals with. This is the guy that the press is going to.
I would have been a Martin Luther. I would have been a Malcolm X guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
as
hardcore.
A black person or as a white person?
As a black person.
Yeah.
I would have been hardcore Malcolm X.
Yeah.
I would have not. I just know that that's my personality. Like I would have just leaned that way. Like time to break the wheel. I'm going with fucking Daenerys Targaryen.
Well, what do you think about the women's movement right now? I mean, if you were a woman, would you be a hardcore? There's because I went on the women's march, and there was.
I went to the one in Boston.
Oh, you did? Yeah, there's
more as like a just check-in.
Well, there were women there that were there to be supportive, and there was women there that wanted to break the wheel. And there was a woman, I remember there was a woman that had on a t-shirt that said, I don't want to hear any more from white men. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm a white man. I'd like to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But at the same time, if I was a woman and you could show me systematically that we're being held back and paid less or whatever it is that, your understanding is of it, which changes. Different people believe different things.
Yeah.
But I'm the kind of person where I would probably be pretty militant about it. I don't know.
I would be definitely militant. I would definitely be militant. If I was being oppressed, I would be militant. Like I listened to an interview today with Charlemagne the God and Killer Mike. And they were talking about reparations. And immediately I go, whoa. I'm not going to start giving up my money for reparations. My family wasn't even here at that time. And they were saying, which was interesting, if you can prove that your family was descendant of slaves, you should get reparations, be it a portion of the marijuana business, a portion of land. It should be something. They don't know what it is yet. But then Charlemagne said, well, then Frederick Douglass said only people who own slaves should be a part of that reparations. And Magic Mike goes, no, it should be all white people. And I thought, well, hold on. If it's all white people, then it's got to be all black people. Like you can't just go, my family was in Ireland during that slavery. I shouldn't be a part of that. I had nothing to do with slavery whatsoever. Why wouldn't, there's a Jamaican guy that gets oppressed just as bad as a guy who's derived out of ancestry, out of slavery. Why wouldn't he get reparations? And I was like, immediately, as I got defensive, I thought, oh, if I was black, I'd be calling for reparations in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'd be like, we get something.
Well, Georgetown University is doing it.
I heard about that.
They're doing a thing where, because I guess the campus was built buy slaves. And so they have traced down all the actual descendants. And, thanks to like 23andMe and all these.
Fucking 23andMe started all this?
It's that's how they found the descendants. And so they've been notifying them, knocking on doors and saying, guess what? You're related to a slave that built Georgetown. And they're charging this. It's not official. It's a proposal. I'm not sure if it's going through, but that they would put a surcharge on the tuition. Not even that much. I think it would be like $50 or something a year. And that money would be divided and given to the ancestors.
I'm cool with that.
I think so.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool. By the way, I'm also cool with I'm cool with the militant lesbians or not the feminists. My bad. Militant feminists and militant lesbians. And now I'm getting even cooler with it, because I like watching things dissolve. Alyssa Milano came out and said we should hold a sex strike.
Oh shit!
Did you hear that?
Well,
the
I
abortion
didn't hear
thing.
That, no,
the abortion thing in Atlanta happens about heartbeat law, and Miss Alyssa Milano comes out and goes, "Ladies, we need to withhold sex from our men until this changes." And then she said some fucked up shit. She was like, "This affects black people more than anyone." Basically, in essence, saying black women have more kids, they get pregnant more often. She didn't realize what she was saying.
Yeah.
She was trying to be liberal. She just got ahead of herself.
Yeah.
She just got ahead of herself going, black women, we're here for you. Yeah. You girls are whores. You guys fuck a lot. And so these NFL players were like, yo, what the fuck are you saying about black women? And wait, why do we have to be for your laws? We're people of faith. We don't believe in abortion. It was, and then when you watched, and then had to watch Alyssa Milano backpedal, and she was like, actually, I mean, I love watching all that shit. And if you stay out of the fray and just be like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, white women have to be real careful not to speak for black women. I think Lena Dunham might have done that also.
Lena Dunham, I have a quote out of a Rolling Stone magazine that was written, I think, by a black woman. It says, Lena Dunham has consistently had a blind spot when it comes to race.
Yeah.
Just oblivious.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to see people, I won't say names, but people who, especially women, white women, that are big spokesmen that that made horrific jokes all fucking their entire career. Mm-hmm. Now just retweet these.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, and you're like, what? Where was this?
Yeah, I know. You can't play it both ways.
Fucking someone hold you to the exact standard that you're pretending to hold everyone else to, because that's fucking ridiculous. I don't speak for black men ever. Never would I tell you what it's like to be a black man, or would I look, man, I don't even retweet black men's issues. I'll agree with you. I'll help you. I'll do whatever. Black Lives Matters. Okay. I'm here. I'm listening. That's all you got to do. I don't oh my God, that is so frustrating. When you see those people, you go, what's hypocrisy? Are you covering your trails?
Yeah. Yeah.
You sound like those fucking guys there were some guys that got way too Me Too-y, and you're like, how many women did you rape?
Yeah.
I can tell you, the average guy just kind of goes, hey man, we should listen. Those ones that are fucking virtue signaling with their pitchforks, you're like, yo, what did you do?
It's a tough spot because, as a guy who makes a lot of my money writing on TV shows, there is a mandate in Hollywood for diversity. And I just went through staffing season because I was writing on Crashing the last 2 years and that got canceled. So I'm looking for another writing job. And this is staffing season basically is over now, but it's been going on the last couple months. And I'm friends with a bunch of showrunners, reached out about shows, consistently heard from every one of them, sorry, man, I just can't hire any white men. So it's like, I'm mixed because I'm married. I have a daughter. I totally buy that women are getting a bad shake. I've been in writers' rooms that have been almost all men my whole life.
Ooh.
I see less women. Obviously you look at the late night talk shows, there's not a single woman, and you go, all right, quantifiably, there's a big issue here. But there's also the part of me that goes, I got to pay a mortgage.
Yeah.
And I can't get a fucking job right now.
Should you be punished for the benefits or for the system that was in place before you?
Well, I don't know. And, and I'm certainly willing to take it on the chin. And like you said, all you can do is listen. You have to shut up and listen right now. But
and by
at the
way,
same time,
podcast fans don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want anyone that listens. I did a podcast with a female comedian who was very militant.
What was her name?
Aisling B. Very militant feminist. And she told me, she came on very hot and she had an agenda. I didn't realize she came in with a little bit of an agenda. And her agenda was, the Comedy Store is sexist. They need to book 50% comedians, female, 50% male. And out of that, it should be a shade of every race. You shouldn't, they go, it's racist that you would book Joe Rogan, you and Joey Diaz on any show together, or that Mark Maron would get a spot on that, or David Spade, or she's like, that's racism, that's sexism. You were here for that, right? And I just listened. Because I wasn't going to argue. This was, by the way, in the heat of the Me Too. I just listened. And man, I caught so much shit from people on this podcast.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Bert. How dare you? You're not going to stand up for us. You're not. And but by the way, do you know who I got the most shit from?
Who?
Female fucking comedians that work at the store.
Yeah.
I walked into the store the first time. I got lit up by every female comedian.
You mean both the female comedians?
Both of them, Annie Letterman and fucking. No, but it was like such fucking horse shit that you try to listen and then you become. But that here's my thing: are there and you don't have to answer this. I'll just put it in the ethos. I don't know if that's ether. I don't know if that's the right word.
Ether.
That's why Are there that many talented women that have been ignored based on their sex for these jobs? Or are they simply opening up opportunity to mediocre writers based on their sex?
It's all about the pipeline. It's all about I had a female comedian on my podcast this week, and she brought up that there should be equal amount of female headliners on the road and that there are enough female comedians that could do the same job as men. And I took issue with that.
She doesn't know what she's fucking talking about. It has nothing to do with, it has to do with selling tickets.
It has to do with selling tickets, but it also has to do with, all right, women are not getting stage time at the entry level as much as men. That has to be looked at, because without that stage time, they can't become strong feature acts. Without becoming strong feature acts, they can't become strong headliners.
How about this?
Being a headliner doesn't mean you can do 45 minutes. It means you can hold and control and kill an audience for 45 minutes. That's what a headliner is.
And how about this? And I would argue this to this female comedian. I don't know who it is, and I don't want to know because I don't want to change my opinion because I'll probably like her. I'll probably be like, oh, I love Karen Kilgareth. If you're a female and you've been doing it 6 years and you're attractive and you can feature, immediately you get bumped up to headliner. There is a jump that happens for any comedian. Amy Schumer, I'll use Amy as an example. Amy was a competent comedian at like 8 years in. 2 years in, she won Last Comic Standing.
Oh, yeah?
Eliza had been doing stand-up for a year, won Last Comic Standing. We could argue neither of them were
seasoned
at that time, but they were attractive. Amy came in 5th. Eliza won. I think she'd been doing comedy 1 year, and she won it. She was talented, yeah, of course. But is Eliza Chappelle, is she the greatest comedian of our generation? No, she's a great comic. But here's the problem, though. And Eliza dodged this bullet. I don't think Amy did. Eliza got out of the way of it. Amy took it to the chest. Is both of them at, say, 7 years, 8 years in, which is early as a comedian to be doing hour specials, both got offered all the opportunities that, say, Jeff Ross, Greg Giraldo, Patrice O'Neill, that they were literally put on the exact same playing field as Attell, Colin Quinn. They were then levitated up to there, but they hadn't been doing it quite as long. They got all these opportunities, and they technically, if we're talking about the amount of time in the industry, they weren't allowed to develop and be as seasoned as these guys getting these opportunities.
So you're saying, in other words, the industry may pluck them out of what would be the normal
farm season,
course
the farm
of getting
league,
good,
and let them get good and get great.
Well, yeah, it happens to male comics as well. Like,
but it happens to black comics. Doesn't happen as much to white
look
comics.
at Gerard Carmichael.
Gerard Carmichael, perfect example. Guy's super talented and immediately gets put into a system where it's okay if you're in that system and you're Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
You know, and you've been doing it fucking 30 years and you go,
You started at 16 and
I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna do a tour, I'm gonna do a movie. I'm Martin Lawrence. I've been doing it 20 years. I'm gonna write a book, do a movie, do a couple movies, and do another tour. Kevin Hart's been doing it 20 years, 20 some odd years. I'm gonna do 5 movies, I'm gonna do another special. When you've been doing it 6 years, you're just not 7 years, 5 years, 10 years. The system is set up so that if you're kind of good as a female and you're at that age, like where they go, whoa, I don't want to age her out, right? Anything past 33 is going to look old on television. Grab her, put her in, plug her in. There's very few Chelsea handlers who can handle all that. Even Chelsea had to stop touring and just turn it into her TV show. And so I would argue that that women, this system fucks women. There was a girl that was on Kill Tony with me, fucking dime. She'd been doing stand-up for 6 weeks. And she said on there, yeah, I'm nervous. I got my first headlining week coming up.
Yeah.
But she got headlined because she's gorgeous.
Well, what about unattractive women? Do you think they get a bad shake?
No, and I think
comedy?
that's why some of them are some of the best comics out there. I'm not going to say their names because that would be horrible. But like I know a couple that are fucking killers on stage that no one can follow. And the industry just walks past them like they're some regular white dude.
Right.
Lets them do stand up for 20 years. And then one day they show up and they're like fucking killers on stage.
Yeah.
And so like, I think that it's a fucked up system in place. A guy like me who's like, I'm not like ever been young looking. I've never been like cool. I'm not like Dalia who's like fucking castable and leading man and funny and in shape and wears cool clothes. I'm allowed to develop for 20 years. It's like leaving a marijuana plant in the field to get as many nodes and buds on it as possible and just keep walking by it. And then one day they go, oh, I didn't know that was a marijuana plant.
Yeah, I believe it is a meritocracy. And I think that, the tastes of the industry are going to change. It's cyclical. And I do think that if you just keep your head down and you keep writing and you keep trying to do as many sets as possible, that things happen. And I think for women, it really is disheartening, I'm sure, for them to look at the lineups because I don't think there's a ton of spots for women on the lineups. And then you got to look at it and you go, why? You got to look hard at why.
And you're right.
Like you said, are they selling tickets? I don't know. Are they killing? I don't know. Well, then why? What do they need to do to get to that level? And what can the community do to help them and foster them getting there?
Like, let's take a look
because I don't agree that there are an equal number of strong female and male headliners. I don't think it's the same number.
But I don't think it's the same number because I think of what I was saying is that they pluck them out early.
Yeah.
And like guys like me get to do the road.
Right.
Like literally in oblivion for 10 years. I get to do the road for 10 years and it doesn't register on anyone's radar.
Yeah.
And then you look at someone like Beth Stelling, who we're both friends with. I mean, think about this. If Beth was a dude, she'd just be doing stand-up, right? Just focusing. She wouldn't be like writing on every different show. She is going to benefit from these more than anyone because she's hilarious, mostly, but she's also a female and she can get plucked into write on Crashing and then literally walk away from that show and get on Sarah's show. And then like she can pick any job she wants. But if she was a dude, that wouldn't happen. And she would just be doing a stand-up and she'd probably be a fucking monster because all those jokes that she wrote for Crashing or for Sarah, all that focus she took away from her art would just be solely about her. Mm-hmm. And she'd be creating her own opportunity. She wouldn't have opportunities. She'd be creating her own opportunities, going to the Funny Bone, flying in Wednesday night so she could do early radio, doing fucking 10 years of radio before she gets the opportunity at 46, which she would not get an opportunity at 46. This industry is fucked up.
Yeah.
They would never go like, let's wait till Beth's 46. See her then.
No, it's true. The window closes for women. It starts later. I mean, if you're not attractive, and Beth is attractive.
Beth's beautiful.
And she's a comic that gets better every year. And she is logging her hours on the road. She's doing it all.
She's doing a lot. She is going out on the road. But she is also writing. And I know a lot of times with those white guy things, when you get hooked into writing, your stand-up suffers.
Right.
Because you're giving good material.
Well, I've been writing for 15 years, and I do look back and say, I could be at another place with my stand-up if I wasn't writing as well.
Dude, I look at the time I spent on Travel Channel, it's just two different brain structures.
Yeah.
You go, you're in production brain, you're in host brain.
Yeah.
You're not in stand-up. When you're in stand-up brain, everything's about your act. And if you took all those different hats that Beth has to wear away and just gave her stand-up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but you're right, the industry says they age out. And the industry doesn't want to hear from, you know,
Wendy Liebman, who's a fucking killer.
Dude, Judy Gold,
Kathy Ladman.
I just had her on my podcast. Jessica Curson.
Yeah.
Jessica Curson is a monster.
She's a monster.
None of us can follow her on stage. None of us.
Yeah.
And
has a voice, has a very unique voice. A lesbian mother who's from Jersey and can be aggressive on stage and fucks with the crowd. You know,
dude, Paula Bell.
Yeah.
There's so many hilarious older women that you go, for whatever reason, the industry didn't grab them at the right time. And then the industry just kind of ignores them.
Yeah.
And you go like, that's what I'd fucking, I mean, that's the hill I die on is all those really talented women that didn't get the opportunities that they were afforded because of sexism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at two white men talking
Jesus, what are we doing, Bert?
We're just pissing off women comics right now.
I know.
Poor Beth's gonna be like, what the fuck did I do to you?
Yeah.
Like, no, I think Beth's brilliant.
Beth is brilliant. She works her ass off and she's totally unique. She has like a very rare she has very rare quality of not really giving a shit that she's unusual, that the way she thinks is different. She'll just like do a big leg kick in the writer's room, like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or she'll do something on stage that's just silly.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's the thing that I think is going to make her a big name, is that if somebody can figure out how to bottle that
she's got to get away from writing, in my opinion.
I don't know.
Because I think writing.
You're also learning, so you're going to get your own show someday, and you're going to know how it should be done.
I guess you're right. Maybe I should have written on. I submitted one writing package one time, and for David Spade's talk show on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And
Mike Gibbons ran that.
Hugh Fink did.
Oh, Mike replaced him.
Hugh Fink took my package, liked it, and then found out I was just a stand-up and was like, nah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? And I'm grateful, I guess. Because I look at like my time at Travel Channel and I go, man, if I hadn't done that, I look at Segura and he just focused on stand-up that whole time and he just leapfrogged me in fucking perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll never catch up with where he is. 4 fucking specials while I was doing shit no one watched.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because my brain wasn't writing comedy.
Yeah.
But give me 10 years to write. I don't know where, like, you're right about that. But like, I hope we didn't offend any of these women. Like Sarah's a perfect example. Sarah never wrote on anything, did she? She just focused on Sarah.
She wrote on SNL, but that was only like a year. And I think that's what they do to you on SNL is if you want to be a performer, a lot of times they hire you as a writer. And then you pitch stuff and maybe they'll let you perform something.
Sarah's one of those few prolific ones that I think.
She's brilliant.
Where 6 years in, I think she was like, I'm not going to compare her to Chappelle. I think it's bad to compare anyone to Chappelle. But Sarah's never dropped the ball for me.
She's always had a voice, a distinct voice, and been smart and cool. She is. Most comedians, if they're cool, they're not funny. It's very rare to find cool and funny in a comedian. Yeah. And she is.
She is cool as fuck. Janine, I've always had a fucking massive crush on Janine.
Yeah, Janine's
great. Janine's voice, even when like I saw her in New York the other day, and I think she came off stage saying she bombed. Dude, I would much rather watch that than 90% of what's out there.
She's always doing something interesting.
I never find it bombing. We did a show in Montreal together and she was like super embarrassed. It was for CISO, which is gone now. She was like, oh my God, I bombed. I'm so embarrassed to go into the green room. And I was like, hey, Janine, all of us bombed, but yours was beautiful. Yeah. Mine was pathetic.
Yeah.
Mine was like needy and wanty.
Yeah.
Yours was, I was like, oh my God.
Right. Maria Bamford is as good as anybody out there. She's incredible.
Dude. Do you remember her show she did when she pretended to move back with her parents?
Oh yeah.
And did it out of her bed?
Yeah.
That's probably the greatest. This might be one of the greatest things I've ever seen online.
Yeah.
Where I saw it and I went, oh my God, this is fucking genius.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to do another special. I got the material and I put it on tape. Now I got to go out and try to push it on Netflix and Comedy Central. But again, being a straight white male, trying to get a 1 hour special right now.
They did the 15s and Nikki Glazer came in. I think it was Nikki. And she was like, yeah, the 15 minutes just came out. And she was like, and there was only one straight white male. I mean, kudos, Netflix. And I go, well, hold on. Is that fair? Like, are you telling me that there's only like if they did 30 of them, that only like 3% of stand-up comics that are funny are white males? And she was like, no. I was like, yeah, but I mean, I understand giving opportunities to everyone, but I think the bar should be even. Maybe I'm just a white guy saying that for my own benefit, not realizing how high my bar already is before anyone starts. Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like,
look, I got the benefit of being a straight white male from forever until about a year ago. So luckily I bought a house. I saved some money. Stand up. I
was ready for this white guy apocalypse.
Yeah. I was ready for, like a comedian, I was ready for some kind of apocalypse. And I really do think that luckily I got the podcast where it is what it is.
Yeah.
And stand up, I don't think anybody's ever I don't think headliners on the road, there's a lot of pressure for, we can't have any more straight white guys. I think there's some efforts, I think, for clubs to bring in diversity, but not the way you have it in the TV industry.
No, and I think look what they did to Joe. Do you see what they did to Joe? This I forget, Act Now or one of those like progressive websites.
Yeah.
I don't forget the name of it. Came after Joe saying he needs more women on his podcast. And everyone was like, hey man, it's his podcast.
Yeah.
Like he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, what world do you think you live in where you just speak up and go, Joe Rogan, change everything you're doing.
Yeah.
We demand it. And then Joe goes, oh yeah. Like it's his fucking podcast. He has cage fighters on. The majority of cage fighters are men.
Yeah.
The majority of cage fighter commentators are men.
Right.
Like it's like his friends. He has his friends on. His friends are men. He has women on too. Whitney Cummings. Like, but it's just so crazy that the world is demanding it when you go like, Bert, why don't you have more female friends? I'm like, well, I don't know. It's not how I work. I'm married and my wife's not cool with that. I can't just go out and drink with Eliza.
Well, it depends on again, going back to each individual woman has probably a different strategy about how to get parity going. And one is to break it down, smash it, recreate it. And the other is to engage and try to have a dialogue. And I don't know. And again, if it was me, I'd probably be the fucking,
smash it. I'll smash it too. I'm railing against the same type of people that I am.
Yeah.
I'm going, I'd smash it. If I was a feminist, I'd be like, smash it.
If I was listening to this podcast.
Close the store. Fucking cancel Bert.
Right.
Yeah, fucking, I'm done with him. Mute Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
That's exactly who I'd fucking be.
Right.
All right, we've done now, I think 3 hours of podcasting. We should probably wrap this up before we end our careers entirely.
Can I announce some dates?
Please.
Oh, son of a bitch. I'm doing stand-up comedy in your town. If you live in Buffalo, Helium Comedy Club in Buffalo, June 27th through the 29th. La Jolla Comedy Store, July 12th and 13th. Also, I'll be in, I'm going to Atlanta. I will be in Atlanta, June 6th through the 8th at Side Splitters. Then I'll be in Atlanta's Punchline. And then Tampa Side Splitters, June 13th through 15th. I did that out of order, but those are my dates. And Fitzdog Radio is the podcast. Don't forget, also, I have a podcast called Childish with Alison Rosen, who we came on together last time.
We had a podcast together, and we had a viral clip about us talking about could we use porn to masturbate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, check out that. It's if you have kids or you've been a kid, you'll enjoy Childish. Yeah.
Dude, I could do this with you whenever. Like, literally, we should just set up, like, once every 2 months to just get together and podcast, either yours or mine.
That'd be great. I
You're
would love
fucking
that.
so easy to talk to.
Thanks, man.
And your brain is, you know, the one thing I love about you is like, I don't really think things through, but like you definitely think things through on both sides. So like I can have a conversation with you and say my thing, and then you don't, even if you disagree with me, you can just help me change my mind.
Yeah.
Which is, there's not enough of that in this world.
Well, that's why we're gonna do a TV show together someday. I'm gonna run it. You're gonna star in it. You're gonna write it with me, and you're gonna come up with the fucking raw sewage.
Well, hopefully, if one of these TV shows I pitched goes like to series, I can hire you as my one white guy.
You got it. God damn it! I'll need it by then.
I better start getting into female comics if I need writers.
That's right.
Best-selling, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry about what I said. You should be a writer.
Don't focus on your career. Focus on mine. Dude, thank you, Greg.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah.